Hello, everyone. Welcome to my week 4 discussion. Let's get right into this. We'll begin with the Fourth Amendment and privacy. In Chapter 7 of our textbook, I was drawn to the discussion on the Fourth Amendment and how it applies to agency investigations. The amendment protects us from unreasonable searches and seizures and says warrants need probable cause. In the Hip Hughes video, he gave examples like Mapp versus Ohio, which established the exclusionary rule, and Maryland versus King, where the court allowed DNA swabs from people who were arrested. What interested me here is how the same amendment that was written in the 1700s is still shaping modern issues like privacy and technology. It made me think about how far the government should be able to go in collecting information, especially when new tools like DNA testing or surveillance can be so powerful. Next, we have immunity in investigations. Another important part from Chapter 7 of the text was immunity during investigations. The video explained that there are two main types: transactional immunity, which fully protects someone from being prosecuted for what they admit, and testimonial immunity, which only stops their statements from being used against them. I found this interesting because it shows how investigators try to balance getting people to tell the truth with respecting their Fifth Amendment rights. Without immunity, many witnesses might stay silent to avoid incriminating themselves. But with immunity, they can be compelled to testify, and that can uncover corruption or misconduct that would never come to light otherwise. I think this shows the push and pull between individual rights and the public's right to know the truth. Next, we have subpoenas and information collection. Chapter 7 also highlighted subpoenas, which I learned more about from the provided video. A subpoena is a legal order that forces someone to testify or provide documents, and it can even apply to people who aren't directly part of the case. That surprised me because it shows how much power agencies have to reach the outside the immediate parties to get evidence. At the same time, the Paperwork Reduction Act, which was passed to reduce government overreach, requires the Office of Management and Budget to review information requests from agencies. This balance caught my attention because it shows the two sides of the same coin. On one hand, agencies need broad authority to investigate and enforce laws, but on the other, there are safeguards to stop them from drowning businesses and individuals in paperwork or invading privacy without limits. Next, we have administrative hearings and ALJs. In Chapter 8 of our textbook, I focused on administrative hearings and administrative law judges, or ALJs. The video explained that these hearings are a lot like trials, with witnesses, evidence, and arguments, but they take place within the agency itself. ALJs control the hearings by deciding what evidence can be admitted, managing how witnesses testify, and then reaching a decision. In some cases, they can even impose fines or penalties. What I found most interesting is that agencies basically act like mini courts. People get a chance to defend themselves, but the process is less formal and usually quicker than a regular trial. It made me realize that much of the justice system happens outside traditional courts, and how important ALJs are in keeping that process fair and consistent. Next, we have discovery and pre-hearing conferences. Another point from Chapter 8 was about discovery and pre-hearing conferences. Discovery is when both sides exchange information like documents, written questions, or depositions so that everyone knows what evidence is coming before the hearing. The video explained that this prevents trial by surprise, which is what you sometimes see on TV shows, but not in real life. Then there are pre-hearing conferences, where the parties and the presiding officer can go over the issues, share witness lists, and sometimes even work toward a settlement. I thought this was interesting because it shows how much preparation happens before a hearing ever starts. It also made me think about how these steps can save time, reduce conflict, and make sure the actual hearing focuses only on the real disagreements. Next, we have alternative dispute resolution, or ADR. The text also explained how agencies use alternative dispute resolution, or ADR. The video on ADR gave examples like mediation, where a neutral person helps both sides reach an agreement, and arbitration, where someone makes a binding decision without a full trial. ADR is usually cheaper and faster than a formal adjudication, and it lets people move forward without as much stress. I found this point interesting because it shows that agencies don't always want long, drawn-out hearings. Sometimes it makes more sense to solve problems through compromise or by finding common ground. It also showed me how administrative law isn't just about punishment or enforcement. It can also be about practical solutions that save time and resources. So finally, in closing, to wrap things up, Chapter 7 and 8 of the text really gave me a clearer picture of how agencies work behind the scenes, from subpoenas, immunity, and the Fourth Amendment, to hearings, discovery, and ADR. I saw how the system tries to balance two goals: protecting people's rights while also letting the government do its job effectively. What stood out to me is how agencies can act like courts, but they also use tools like settlement and ADR to avoid making every case into a full trial. This week really helped me understand that administrative law is about more than rules. It's about fairness, efficiency, and keeping government accountable. Thank you.